welcome to Tuesday Talks here at New Song.
Hello, New Song and Facebook friends and family. I'm Tara Jenkins. I wanted to share a little personal incident that's happening in my life right now. Faith is something that God kind of laid on my heart today to speak on. Our faith is, easy. It's easy to have faith in the Lord when nothing major is happening. But when life kind of hits you and by surprise and catches you by surprise, it's more difficult to stand firm. I know for me, yesterday I called my daughter for her birthday, and she was weeping, and she told me that a friend of hers had passed from COVID and complications because he already had some illness. And then today my son called me today and told me that he had COVID. So on the backdrop of one really tragic story with a 21-year-old man that had, or 20-something-year-old young man that had children, to my son, who is also a young man and has two children, a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. It's a challenge to say, Father, what do I do now? And I think it's funny because he laid faith on my heart today, and I wanted to read you this and then speak a little more. In Deuteronomy 7:9, it says, "Know therefore that the Lord your God, He is God, the faithful God, who keeps His covenant and His loving kindness to 1,000 generations. With those who love Him and keep His commandments." I responded today because my husband called me and said, "How are you doing?" And your mom heart goes and says, "Boy, Lord, this is a big one." And you hear such bad reports, and you hear so much on the news and the media, and whose report are you going to believe? It really comes down to that. And what I know is I serve a faithful God. I serve a God who has never let me down. I've gone through horrible circumstances. I've gone through horrible times, don't get me wrong. But He's never let me down. He's always been there for me. He's always been my loving God. And so I am going to stand firm in these circumstances and believe that God will carry my family through and bring healing and restoration. And so I would ask that you would pray with me that our mighty God would bring a wonderful healing and restoration in this circumstance. But I also wanted to commend you that when things get scary, whether it's COVID or finances or health or something emotional in your life or your marriage, whatever it is, God is faithful. He just doesn't, the circumstance can be hard, but God is still faithful. And I ask you to stand firm with me, praying for my son, but also praying for your life and your whatever you're going through. And I pray that God will help you through and that you just lean into Him, because I have always stepped back and said, God, I don't like the circumstance, but I know your character, and your character doesn't lie, and you're always faithful. And so I'm going to lean into that in these circumstances. And that's what we have to do when we face something tough. We get going. In other words, the tough get going. And so the tough here is going to be, I am going to go into prayer, and I'm going to ask you to go into prayer with me. And so today's Tuesday Talk is a little bit of a tougher lesson, but you know what? It's the reality is we face things, and our faith can be challenged. And what are we going to do in that circumstance? And I pray that what we do is stand therefore and go into our prayer closet and do that. That should be our response, not panic, not fear, but God, I'm going to believe that you're faithful in this circumstance. And that's how we need to respond. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye.